5 resorts across 2 states in 3 days? Oh, you bet it was a lot of fun. What's going on, Midwest skiers and riders? Matthew Zarensky with MidwestSkiers.com, where we talk about all things skiing and riding in the Midwest. And if you haven't liked or subscribed to all of our pages by now, be sure to do that, as we have a lot of amazing content planned for the next few weeks. This is part 2 of 2 of our video based on our recent road trip to Minnesota and Wisconsin. In part 1, we talked about our takeaways and some tips that we learned along the way. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll be sure to drop a link below so you can go ahead and get caught up. But today we're going to break down the trip in more detail and take a look at each resort individually.
Now we see them individually.
I was super excited to start planning this trip because it would mark the first time that I was back out skiing since COVID quickly shut down the season last year.
We will never speak of that again.
But more importantly, I was amped up to see and share how the skiing experience would be with all these new guidelines and restrictions in place. I know a lot of you, including myself, were really worried about safety and just overall how fun the experience would be. And I have to say that this was some of the most fun skiing I've had in a long time. I left on a Sunday morning and had an 11.5-hour drive ahead of me, and it all started with a bang. That's because I left my Yeti full of freshly pressed coffee on top of my car. So after that disappointment, I arrived at St. Paul on Sunday night and prepped for my trip. Monday, I decided to swing by Buckhill while they were making snow, and they were running pretty much every gun that they had because conditions were absolutely perfect. The sights, the sounds, and of course that caution snowmaking in progress highway sign. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
No, it certainly does not.
Yeah.
Then I headed over to Highland Hills for some evening skiing. Highland Hills is a small ski area located in Bloomington, Minnesota that is owned and operated by the Three Rivers Park District. Although small in height, boasting only 175 vertical feet, this resort makes up for it with its location. This, along with Buckhill, are 2 of the most urban ski resorts that I've ever seen. While skiing down, you get glimpses of the suburbs of the Twin Cities and even are consistently catching airplanes taking off overhead from the Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport, which is located just 10 miles away. And although this hill is far from massive, I thought it skied extremely well, especially for its stats. I had a blast during my time there and found the fall lines to be short but direct, which is exactly what I want in a ski resort. Overall, I thought it was a perfect place to grab some after work or school laps, and clearly I'm not the only one because this hill is literally designed around that concept. Designated drop-off and pickup areas, outdoor lockers, and a sprawling recently renovated chalet create the perfect environment for this. One thing that was different about Highland was the parking situation. Parking next to the chalet will run you $2 per hour with a maximum of $10. Wait. Highland Hills, who do you think you are? Vail Resorts?
Oh, sick burn.
But you also have the free option to park only a half mile away at the Normandale parking lots and take the free shuttle that runs consistently. Since I was hauling all of my camera gear and wanted to be close to my car, I decided to go with the chalet parking, but the shuttle system seemed to work very well. But let's talk about what the new COVID-19 guidelines looked like while I was there. The first thing that was obvious since we were in Minnesota was that indoor access was limited to bathroom and grab-and-go food only. They had an outdoor ticket counter where you can purchase lift tickets and be on your way. No pre-purchasing or reservations were required when I went, so I was able to simply walk up and grab a lift ticket for the day. Other standard guidelines were also in place, such as maintaining social distancing, wearing masks through the resort, and only riding the chairlift with parties of your household. Although there was a good amount of people there, I found myself only having to wait in line on a handful of occasions, and often it was only for 1 or 2 chairs. Overall, I had a great experience at Highland Hills and had a ton of fun, and it felt safe throughout my entire time there. This would be an excellent choice for someone looking to get out on the slopes but may only have a few hours to do so. The next morning, I woke up bright and early to drive up to Dresser, Wisconsin to visit our friends at Trollhagen. We fired up the stovetop and cooked up some coffee, eggs, sausages, and of course we had to have some bacon.
And I gotta tell you something.
Bacon is good for me.
Troll is located 1 hour northeast of the Twin Cities, right across the Wisconsin border, and is the only resort, as far as I know of, that is run by trolls. And I did look for Yellow Troll while I was there, but unfortunately I still think he's upset at me about mispronouncing his resort's name because I couldn't find him anywhere. Trollhagen boasts 24 runs serviced by 9 lifts, and although its vertical rise is only 280 feet, it has more character than a resort 20 times that vertical.
Fantastic. 20 times as hard as diamond.
The moment that you walk onto the resort grounds, you can tell that this place is just quintessential Minnesota. Wait, sorry, Wisconsin. Jeez, for a minute there I thought I was writing for Free Skier magazine.
Woof.
Riding up the iconic blue lifts, I enjoyed that trolls seem to have very well-defined runs, especially for a smaller resort. Many times smaller resorts tend to cut down all of their trees to open up more skiable terrain, but I thought they struck a good balance of opening skiable terrain without ruining the feel of an actual run. And if you have heard the name Trollhagen before, I wouldn't be surprised, as they are consistently ranked as having one of the best terrain parks in the land. And unsurprisingly, while I was there, it was in great shape, even with the warmer early season temperatures. Although my park skiing days are numbered, watching the talented riders and skiers that this small hill is producing is absolutely impressive and worth the trip by itself. As for guidelines and restrictions, no pre-purchasing was required at this time, but I believe this has since changed for weekends and holidays, so make sure you check before you go. They also had a great pickup window located outside that is separate from the main ticketing area, and this makes it a breeze if you purchase tickets ahead of time. Masks have to be worn whenever social distancing is not possible, and to be honest with you guys, I ended up just wearing my mask the entire time I was not at my car during these trips. I found after one day of skiing, it just felt like another piece of equipment for me. And since we were in Wisconsin, I was able to actually go into the bar and have a drink. I ordered a troll toddy and took it out onto the outside deck patio, and it was a perfect mid-morning treat. And even though eating and drinking is allowed in Wisconsin, please be mindful of others while you are indoors. Wear your mask until you are eating and drinking, and do not overstay your welcome here. I had a great morning over at Troll, but it was time to jump across the river to visit the first ski resort open in North America. That's right, Wild Mountain. Wild Mountain, which is located just 15 minutes up the road, is a ski resort that is nestled on the Minnesota side of the St. Croix River. And first, I have to say that the drive and the area was extremely beautiful, and I wish I had a little more time to spend checking out the scenery.
Well, then you'll just have to come back and visit.
Wild Mountain has 25 runs serviced by 7 lifts and a vertical rise of 300 feet. One of the things that you'll first notice when you pull into the lot is how close you can park your car to the skiing action. I'm not sure if this has already been coined yet, but it really did feel like the A Basin beach of the Midwest. I was lucky enough to find a spot right on front stage. I backed in and cooked up some lunch before we set off for some late afternoon skiing. And I'm not gonna lie, being that close to my car was absolutely amazing. It made taking breaks really easy, and you never felt like you were far from your gear, which was especially nice for me since I haul around a ton of camera gear. My best friend joined me for some after-work skiing, and this was something that was really special. Since we live over 11 hours away, we only get to see each other a few times every year, and I have to say that evening was some of the most fun skiing that I've had in a number of years. Wild had some of my favorite lines during this entire trip, and for some reason it just seemed like I was skiing really well here. Like every hill I visited, some of the areas were closed due to the early season warmer temperatures, but my two favorite runs here were Ego Alley and Competition. Solid, consistent pitches, and I spent hours lapping these two runs. Of course, I also had to ride up the first rope tow open in North America this season.
It's too great an opportunity to pass.
And I have to say, it was a really cool experience knowing that the Midwest, and specifically Wild Mountain, was home to that accolade. Guidelines here were a bit different since they were in Minnesota, and similar to other Minnesota resorts, they had very limited access to indoor facilities. Since I was there well before the holidays, they did not have their base camp up and running quite yet, but it is now up and running, which looks like a great option for those of you looking to grab a quick snack or a break. Masks were required throughout the resort, and lifts needed to be loaded with household members only. They had an outdoor ticket window, and tickets could be purchased online for easy pickup. No reservations or pre-purchasing were required at that time. And after all that excitement, it was time to head back to St. Paul to rest up for what would be my final day of the trip, and boy was it a busy one. Wednesday, I started my day nice and early, arriving to Buckhill to cook up some breakfast. And I'm not gonna lie, there was something magical about being able to cook breakfast while enjoying the sights and sounds of a ski resort preparing for their day. As many of you likely already know, Buckhill has been home to a number of top-level skiers, including Lindsey Vonn and Paula Moltzen. The Buckhill ski racing team gained national attention shortly after the U.S. National Hall of Fame coach Eric Saylor joined the program in 1969. Buckhill offers 16 runs serviced by 10 lifts, including what I will call the coolest magic carpet in the Midwest. I would rate this as a 2-beer magic carpet. Similar to Highland Hills, Buckhill is truly a ski resort that is smack dab in the middle of suburban Minneapolis. You will quickly notice that you are surrounded by houses, highways, and on a clear day, you can even see the Minneapolis skyline. And this just creates a perfect environment for people that want to swing by after school or even on a lunch break. In fact, we actually met a couple of people doing just that. Although Buck's runs are short, their fall line is direct, and I spent my first hour lapping Milk Run and Crossroads, which I could easily do all day. We have done a full feature on Buckhill in the past, so if you want to check that out, I'll be sure to drop a link below. Unlike the other resorts that I visited, Buckhill does require you to buy tickets in advance, so do not just show up there expecting to ski this season.
I don't recall seeing your name on the guest list.
The purchasing process is a breeze, and then when you show up, they have a well-defined roped-off area to pick up your tickets. Like our other Minnesota visits, indoor space is limited to essential use only. Masks need to be worn throughout the resort, and lifts need to be loaded with household members only. And like every time I've been to Buck, I had a blast, and it was a great way to start off the day. But we still had a long day ahead of us because we had to travel over 275 miles down south to Tyrone Basin. So we packed up the car camper and headed on down to Mount Horeb, which is located about 20 minutes west of Madison, Wisconsin. We had little time to spare as it was a 4-hour drive, so we had some sandwiches along the way that we whipped up that morning. We got to Tyrone Basin right after 5:30, and when I pulled into that parking lot, I have to say, it just felt good to be home. For those of you that don't know, Tyrone is what I would consider my home hill, regardless of wherever I move. I have been a pass holder at over, I think, 6 different resorts now, but Tyrone is where I went from casual skier to die-hard. Tyrone Basin offers 16 runs and a vertical rise of 300 feet, and I often get asked where the I Ski 300 vert tagline comes from, and although 300 is a number seen across many resorts that we cover in the Midwest, it really was to pay homage to my home hill. We also have done a full feature on this resort, so if you want to check that out, I'll be sure to drop a link below. What's unique about Tyrone is that it has some really fun terrain, especially off of the sea chair. Although the sea chair was closed while I was there, the terrain that they did have open was well covered and conditions were great. I also love that they've been putting a lot of effort into cleaning out the gladed areas to make them truly skiable. And this is something that really does improve the terrain there. Similar to our other stops, Tyrone had an outdoor ticket window to make purchasing your tickets a breeze. You were also able to buy tickets online prior to your arrival to speed up the process, but no reservations or advanced ticket sales were required. Masks and social distancing policies were similar to all the other resorts, and people did a really good job of following those rules. One cool new feature that they added this season in response to the pandemic was these new LED loading lights. And this is something that I have never seen before.
Oh, fancy, fancy.
These are designed to help skiers and riders, especially newer ones, easily locate where you're supposed to stand when loading the lift. This simple upgrade is designed to reduce chair stoppages significantly, and Tyrone's owners said that they have already seen the lowest number of stoppages in their history. Since Tyrone was also in Wisconsin, their bar and indoor space was open at a reduced capacity, so obviously I had to cap off my 5-resort trip with a PBR at the newly renovated bar, and honestly, it felt just like the good old days. When planning for my trip, one of the things I was most worried about was how safe I would feel throughout my day of skiing. Questions like, would people follow the rules, would lift lines be quick and crowds be relatively small, and would it feel like the skiing experience that I was used to? And the answer to all of those questions is absolutely. Obviously, I was skiing midweek and during preseason hours, but at no time during my trip did I feel like I was in a dangerous position. I always felt like I had the space needed, and 99% or more of the people were following the rules. There were some changes and things to get used to, but as I previously mentioned, the most important things seemed to be preparation and leveling expectations. After those two elements were in check, it really didn't seem any different than a typical season. Although this was the first trip of many that I'll be taking this upcoming season, I can already tell you that this will be my favorite one. This is because it brought back a sense of normal to me, something that I haven't felt since February of 2020. I want to stop and say a special thanks to Highland Hills, Trollhagen, Wild Mountain, Buckhill, and Tyrone Basin for having me out. I had an absolute blast, and I'll be sure to drop links below to all of their pages and websites, so be sure to check those out if you haven't already. But until next time guys, mask up, pray for snow, and I'll see all of you guys on the next MidwestGears.com road trip.